The story takes place in 1984, in a time when everyone seems used to hiding who they really are, even a serial killer who could be living right next door. That is exactly what 15-year-old Davy starts to believe. He lives in a quiet suburban area called Ipswich in Cape May, and during summer break he works part-time as a newspaper delivery boy. Around town, a terrifying mystery has already taken hold, with several kids disappearing and still not being found. One day, while dropping off papers at the house of a police officer named Wayne Mackey, Davy is asked to help move some boxes. In return, Wayne says he will pay him out of his monthly newspaper money. Even though Wayne lives alone, the house gives off the feeling of a family home, with lots of framed family photos hanging in the living room. As they carry things down into the basement, Davy notices there is a locked door down there. They keep moving the boxes into a dark room, which turns out to be a photo developing room, since Wayne is also into photography. After helping out, Davy heads home, and Wayne thanks him for the favor. That night, Davy plays hide-and-seek like usual with his three best friends, Tommy, who everyone calls Eats, Curtis, and Woody. At one point, Davy accidentally spots a curly-haired teenage boy inside Wayne's house. After that, the boys head back to their treehouse hideout, where they read adult magazines and hang out. Davy brings up the missing teenagers in town and talks about how it has been happening for seasons now, but his friends do not buy it. They just brush it off like it is another made-up rumor. Later, after everyone goes home, the four of them keep talking through their walkie-talkies. Davy also has a habit of spying on the neighbors through binoculars, including Nikki, the girl they all have a crush on, who used to babysit him when he was little. The next morning, the boys ride their BMX bikes to the local teen hangout spot. Before long, they spot Nikki and instantly freeze in admiration. Back at home, Davy watches the news with his parents, Sheila and Randall, who works as a reporter. The report reveals that someone has sent in a letter confessing to the murders of 13 teenagers and 2 adults. The mysterious sender even lists the names of all the victims, and those names match the teenagers who had gone missing. He calls himself the Cape May Slayer. After looking into it, police believe the killer is a white man in his 30s or 40s, someone who lives alone and targets boys between the ages of 12 and 16 in Cape May. Naturally, that news terrifies Davy and his friends, because the description sounds like someone who could easily be living in their own small town. And that is when Davy starts paying attention. Welcome to summer of '84.
Even serial killers live next door to somebody.
For a while, their attention gets sidetracked when they catch Nikki changing clothes in her room and immediately start peeking through the binoculars. But their curiosity about the case only grows stronger, and they soon begin digging through articles about the teenagers who have disappeared over the years. Then they head to the house of their friend Sammy to look for more information. But something feels off right away. The house looks completely empty, with no lights on at all, even though the family car is still parked outside. Later, when Davy gets home, he notices a missing child photo printed on a milk carton, and he instantly recognizes the boy. It is the same curly-haired teenager he saw earlier inside Wayne Mackey's house. Davy slowly comes to a chilling conclusion. To him, the Cape May serial killer is most likely Wayne. Sammy's house being mysteriously empty only makes things feel even more suspicious, especially since the family lives right next door to Wayne. Davy begins to wonder if Sammy's family might have become victims after seeing something they were never supposed to see. Eats then adds another strange detail. His older brother works at a hardware store and once saw Wayne buying huge amounts of soil, nearly 45 kilograms every single week. That kind of purchase definitely does not sound normal. The more Davy thinks about it, the more everything seems to point toward Wayne. He remembers the locked door in Wayne's basement, and the description of the killer given by the police matches Wayne perfectly, a white man in his 30s or 40s who lives alone. With all these suspicions building up, the four boys decide they will investigate on their own and prove whether their theory is true. So the surveillance begins. They start watching Wayne closely and slowly track his daily routine until they manage to map out his entire weekly schedule. One day they spot Wayne carrying out a trash bin while acting strangely suspicious. When Nikki happens to be out for her usual 11 o'clock jog, the boys seize the opportunity to dig through the trash. Unfortunately, they find nothing that looks like a clue. Later that night, Nikki suddenly shows up at Davy's house. Coincidentally, Davy's parents are out of town. During the visit, Nikki discovers that Davy has been spying on her through binoculars this whole time. As she slowly moves closer to him, the moment becomes awkwardly tense. But just as things start to feel even stranger, Davy's parents suddenly return home, instantly killing the mood. Meanwhile, somewhere else that same night, a teenager walking home senses that someone is following him. Moments later, he is suddenly grabbed and kidnapped. The next morning, the boys resume their surveillance of Wayne. This time, Woody bravely takes his mother's car while she is still asleep. They follow Wayne and watch as he stops at a store to buy a large amount of tools and more soil. The boys try to keep up with him, but Woody is so nervous behind the wheel that they eventually lose track of Wayne. Not long after that, a police car pulls them over. At first, they think it might be Wayne, but it turns out to be Officer Cole, who already knows the boys. Cole lets them off with a warning and tells them to go home, reminding them that many kids have already disappeared in this town. Still convinced that something is wrong, Davy continues watching Wayne's house from a distance. Late one night, he notices Wayne returning home in a completely different car. This only strengthens Davy's belief that Wayne must be hiding the tools and supplies somewhere else. But once again, Davy's attention drifts when Nikki suddenly approaches him and starts talking. The two end up chatting for quite a while. Nikki shares that her parents are going through a divorce, and Davy opens up about his growing suspicion that Wayne might be the Cape May Slayer. Nikki simply laughs it off, saying it makes no sense for a police officer to be a serial killer. For weeks, the boys keep watching Wayne, hoping to catch something that proves their suspicions. But no matter how closely they observe him, they still cannot find any solid evidence. Eventually, they decide to return to Sammy's house, the one that had been mysteriously locked before. This time, strangely enough, the door is unlocked. The boys cautiously step inside, only to be suddenly startled when Nikki appears out of nowhere. It turns out Nikki has been asked to help clean the house and take care of the family's cats. Sammy's family has not disappeared at all. They are simply away on summer vacation, using a rented car. Nikki finds it ridiculous that the boys thought Sammy and his parents had been murdered by Wayne, when in reality they were just on holiday. Even so, Davy and his friends are still not convinced. The next night, Davy comes up with another plan. He suggests placing a walkie-talkie near Wayne's window, hoping they might overhear something suspicious. To avoid drawing attention, the boys pretend to play hide-and-seek with other kids nearby and purposely hide around Wayne's house. While keeping watch, Eats and Curtis notice Wayne carrying a bucket filled with bleach, and there are stains on his shirt that look like blood. Unfortunately, the walkie-talkie they planted is eventually discovered by Wayne. All Davy can do is hope that Wayne does not think too much about it, especially since the device is not working properly and cannot clearly pick up any sound. The next morning, Davy plans to fix the walkie-talkie while Nikki leaves for work. But suddenly, Wayne appears. Davy quickly apologizes for entering his property the night before during their hide-and-seek game, and he pretends that he actually came to collect his newspaper payment. Wayne invites Davy to the backyard to give him the money. While standing there, Davy notices freshly disturbed soil in the yard, shaped in a way that looks disturbingly similar to a grave. After taking the payment, Davy quickly leaves the house. But just then, his walkie-talkie suddenly crackles with noise. Wayne notices Davy's strange reaction and begins to grow suspicious. That night, Davy continues watching Wayne's house again. Around 1 a.m, Wayne suddenly looks back through binoculars in Davy's direction. At that moment, it becomes clear that Wayne has started to suspect Davy as well. It gets even worse when Wayne reveals that he has already found the walkie-talkie. He deliberately places it in the window where Davy can clearly see it. Terrified, Davy gathers his friends at the treehouse headquarters. Despite the danger, Davy refuses to give up. He decides they need to check the patch of soil that looks like a grave. Curtis and Woody are assigned to watch Wayne during his usual 11 o'clock night jog, while Davy and Eats will search the suspected burial spot. Curtis and Woody follow Wayne as he finishes jogging and enters what looks like a rented storage unit. Peeking through a gap in the door, they spot several sacks of soil labeled with the chemical formula NaOH. When Wayne pulls out his Volkswagen and begins closing the storage unit, he suddenly senses someone watching him from behind a nearby trash bin. He walks over to check, but luckily the boys have already moved to another hiding spot. Realizing they have lost sight of him, they quickly alert Davy and Eats. Meanwhile, Davy and Eats are still digging through the soil, but they find nothing buried there. So they decide to check a small shed in Wayne's backyard. Using his lock-picking skills, Eats manages to open the padlock. Inside the shed, they discover many tools stored away. Then Davy finds something that sends a chill down his spine, a shirt belonging to the missing curly-haired boy, stained with blood. Afterward, the boys regroup at the treehouse and share everything they discovered. Davy and Eats report finding the shirt belonging to the missing boy, Dusty. Meanwhile, Woody and Curtis describe the sacks of soil, the strange collection of tools, and the chemical labeled NaOH. Luckily, Curtis, who is the smartest among them, notices that the chemical label they saw is actually sodium hydroxide. After looking it up, they learn that sodium hydroxide is a chemical compound that can reduce strong odors. Davy immediately connects the dots and believes this must be what Wayne uses to mask the smell of dead bodies, wherever he has been disposing of them. The boys decide to tell Davy's parents everything they have discovered. Instead of believing them, the adults react with anger. To Randall, the whole thing sounds ridiculous. He even believes the boys have been committing vandalism by spying on someone's property and taking things that do not belong to them. Randall then forces all 4 boys to go straight to Wayne's house and apologize. Standing there, Davy explains everything they did, including his suspicion that Wayne might be the Cape May Slayer. Wayne calmly explains that the boy seen at his house is actually his nephew named Dusty. Davy knows very well that Wayne lives alone and has never mentioned any nearby family. Still, the boys and their parents apologize and promise they will repair the garden they damaged. Wayne simply brushes it off, saying kids often get carried away with adventure, especially during summer vacation. After that incident, Randall punishes Davy by confining him to his room and plans to inform the parents of Davy's friends about everything that happened. Curtis, Woody, and Eats also decide they should stop the investigation since there is still no clear proof. While stuck in his room, Davy spends his time practicing how to pick locks using whatever tools he can find. Eventually, he manages to get the hang of it. One day, while Randall and Sheila are both at work, someone comes to visit the house.
Davy, how's it going?
To Davy's surprise, it is Wayne. Wayne says he feels uncomfortable about what happened the day before and wants to make things right between neighbors. He even says he admires Davy's determination to uncover the identity of the serial killer and hopes Davy might become a police officer someday. Still suspicious, Davy asks Wayne to call his nephew Dusty right then and there. Just in case, Davy secretly holds onto a kitchen knife while handing Wayne the house phone. The call goes unanswered, supposedly because Dusty might be at baseball practice. Davy then apologizes for his suspicions and promises he will repair Wayne's garden soon. But that apology is actually part of Davy's plan. After Wayne leaves, Davy quickly contacts the phone operator to check which number Wayne had dialed. Just as Davy suspected, Wayne did not call any nephew. The number he dialed leads right back to his own house. That means Dusty never existed. Just as Davy becomes more convinced than ever that Wayne is the killer, breaking news suddenly appears. The Cape May Slayer has been caught. The suspect is a man named Arthur, and the officer responsible for capturing him is Wayne Mackey himself. Sheila tells Davy that his suspicions were wrong all along because Wayne is clearly a hero. But instead of calming Davy down, the news makes him even more suspicious. To him, it feels like Wayne might have framed someone else in order to cover his tracks. At first, the other boys refuse to continue the investigation, worried they might get caught again. But Davy is certain that the truth lies behind the locked door in Wayne's basement. If they can get inside and record what is there, they will finally have undeniable proof. They decide the mission will happen during the town festival when most of the residents will be distracted. Curtis will watch Wayne's movements at the festival. Eats will wait near a bus stop corner to alert them if Wayne heads back home. Woody will stay outside as lookout, and Davy will be the one taking the biggest risk by entering the locked room. With this layered plan, Davy will be the only one directly exposed to danger, and if everything works, they will not get caught. In the end, the 4 friends agree to continue the investigation. The day of the town festival finally arrives, and the boys begin carrying out their plan. Curtis keeps watch at the festival grounds and soon notices Nikki already there. Meanwhile, Eats struggles to focus on his task because his parents are in the middle of a serious argument. Davy brings along his father's news camera and quietly sneaks into Wayne's house. Woody cannot bring himself to let Davy go in alone, so he follows him inside. Not long after, Nikki spots them and decides to join in, thinking that Davy's suspicions might actually be true. Back at the festival, Curtis suddenly sees Wayne, along with several other police officers, receiving an award for successfully completing a pier construction project. Seeing this, Curtis begins to doubt everything. He quickly informs the others that Wayne cannot be the killer after all. According to him, the tools and soil Wayne bought were simply used for the pier project. Convinced that they have been chasing the wrong person, Curtis decides to abandon the investigation. Woody hears the news and begins to feel doubtful as well. But since they have already come this far and are only moments away from reaching the basement, they decide to keep going. Inside the house, the basement is completely dark. Davy uses the light on his camera as a flashlight. With the lock-picking skills he has been practicing, he manages to open the lock and enter the mysterious room. Meanwhile, Eats is still waiting at the street corner when Curtis arrives and tells him that Wayne has been cleared of suspicion. After that, the 2 of them simply leave their post. Inside the locked room, Davy and the others notice another door hidden behind a curtain. When they pull the curtain aside, the truth finally reveals itself. Inside are dead bodies, along with a victim who is somehow still alive. At that moment, Davy realizes something horrifying. All the family photos hanging in Wayne's house are not family photos at all. They are pictures of Wayne's victims. Among them is even a photograph of Davy's own family, suggesting that Davy himself was meant to be the next target. The evidence is immediately brought to the police, and officers are quickly dispatched to search Wayne's house and track him down. Davy is suddenly seen as a hero. Nikki is deeply impressed by what he and his friends have done, and she finally gives him a kiss. Randall apologizes to his son and admits how proud he is of Davy's courage. That night, Woody stays over at Davy's house while police continue investigating Wayne's home. The problem is that Wayne himself is still missing. Right at midnight, something terrifying happens. The attic ladder inside Davy's house slowly drops down on its own. Wayne already knows he is being hunted, and he has been hiding there the entire time. Without warning, Wayne suddenly captures Davy. Not long after, Davy and Woody find themselves tied up inside a car. They manage to free their hands and remove the gags from their mouths. Suddenly, Wayne smashes the car window and allows them to escape. They quickly realize they are deep in the forest. Through a loudspeaker, Wayne announces that they are now playing hide and seek, the same game the four boys love so much.
We're gonna play manhunt. Only now we're gonna play it for real.
It's okay. All right. He can't catch us if we keep moving. All right?
Davy and Woody run desperately through the woods searching for a way out. Eventually, they stumble upon a horrifying place where Wayne has been dumping bodies for years, now left there to rot. Realizing what is happening, Davy deliberately tries to lure Wayne away so Woody has a chance to escape. But Wayne catches up to him and slashes the back of Davy's ankle before continuing his pursuit of Woody. Davy painfully crawls back toward the car. When he finally arrives, he is devastated to discover that his friend has already been killed. Wayne finally approaches Davy with pure rage, ready to kill him right there. But after a moment, he stops himself. Wayne realizes that simply killing Davy would not be enough. In his mind, Davy has already ruined his life. Instead, Wayne decides to let him live. He wants Davy to spend the rest of his life haunted by fear, constantly wondering if Wayne might return one day to finish what he started. Badly injured and barely able to walk, Davy eventually stumbles his way onto a nearby road. A passing driver finds him and rushes him to the hospital. Before losing consciousness, Davy notices something chilling. Wayne's police car has been burned, clearly an attempt to erase any trace of evidence. Randall and Sheila are overwhelmed with relief when they see that their son is still alive. But even after Davy physically recovers, the trauma stays with him. He spends his time curled up in his room, shaking with fear and breaking down in tears. Eventually, after slowly regaining some strength, Davy tries to return to his normal routine and starts delivering newspapers again. But things are no longer the same. Curtis and Eats barely acknowledge him. In their eyes, Davy is responsible for what happened to Woody. One day, Davy passes by Wayne's house, now surrounded by police tape. As he stands there, he opens the newspaper for that morning. The main headline reveals a terrifying truth. Wayne Mackey is still missing. So the moral of the story is, if your neighbor buys mountains of soil, owns bleach, and has a creepy locked basement, maybe stop playing detective and just call the police before hide and seek turns into a horror movie.